You've experienced many different markets. How do they compare in forested carbon?
One of the things that happens once you start working in the field of forestry carbon is basically that you start traveling a lot. So part of that business really is to bridge an international gap, and that involves bridging a financing gap, bridging a cultural gap, bridging a language gap, and that is the kind of thing that we do at EcoSecurities.
It's interesting talking about the cultural gap, because you talked during the presentation about the report about dealing with local communities and indigenous people. How do you help them get the best out of the investments they can get?
One of the things that is very, very difficult for a forestry carbon credit buyer is to go out and talk to those people that have the carbon credits and that can sell them. And yes, it's not only the language, it's also in many cases a cultural gap. And imagine someone from one of the large blue chip companies in Europe talking to an indigenous community. It's almost impossible. It's almost impossible for that to happen. And the way we do it is that we work with a network. That we work with a network of local offices, of local agents, of people that come from the individual countries and that are able to communicate effectively and efficiently. And we work together with them in order to make these things happen, in order to bring together parties that couldn't work together without our contribution.
You talk about parties that couldn't work together. You mentioned Copenhagen earlier, and there was. I went to the first week of it, and there was a lot of talk about RED and different investment forms, and then it got put to the side, and people were disappointed with that as well as everything else. How do you feel it's going from here?
Yeah, there were a lot of people disappointed with Copenhagen. I personally spent a lot of time outside the conference halls queuing in the cold, and there were lots of other people who shared that experience. So that was a little bit of a disappointment. But then on the other hand, we all knew before the conference that it was going to be very difficult to reach an agreement because some of the countries hadn't really done their homework yet. So it might have been a disappointment, but it was not a very surprising disappointment. And on the other hand, you could also spin the story very differently, and you could talk about that avoided deforestation in the whole forest sector was one of those sectors that in the negotiations really received a lot of attention and where a lot of progress was made, and where there was a very friendly atmosphere in the negotiations, and where we have a draft text that doesn't look bad at all. And of course, avoided deforestation under the Copenhagen Agreement or under a similar agreement could only happen if the overall agreement comes together. But yes, the forest sector is one of those sectors that look very good in those negotiations.
In your report, the vast majority of people are either positive or very positive about investing in forest and the idea, but not everyone gets involved in it. How do we encourage more people to do it?
And that is one of the other things that I really, really like about forests, and that also in general the forest carbon market buyers. Like it just attracts a lot of attention, and I think it triggers a lot of really positive emotions among people. And at the end of the day, the tree itself is something that is in a strange way just that people like, because it's a tangible way to store carbon. It's something that is closer to nature than anything else could be. And if we have a forest carbon credit that comes out of a tree, that comes out of a forest, then that means a lot, and it means a lot more to people than a renewable energy plant might be, or an animal waste management system. So if we deal in forest carbon, then we do get people's attention, and yes, I also enjoy working in that field.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.